hello. Today on the show, we have Liz. She is a phenomenal human being. She's an engineer as well, and also a student of WWA. So I am so excited for you to be here, Liz.
I'm excited too. I'm nervous, but I'm excited.
No, don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. But it's so funny too, because right before this, we were talking about how, we keep getting you out of your comfort zone.
Completely. Oh my God. I'm telling you, this is the year. This is the year. Doing everything I thought I never would do. So
I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, so Liz, before we even get started into the real estate and all of that stuff, who is Liz? Before everything, who are you? so that everyone knows.
Well, it's the hardest question to answer. Well, let's see. Oh my gosh. Well, like you said, was an engineer. Well, still am technically. I'm still working. I'm jumping the gun. I'm ready.
Yeah. You're like, I'm already checked out, guys. I am a full-time real estate investor.
Completely. So in construction management. And just I think everyone did feel this at some point. We're just tired of waking up early, doing the whole run, and just do over, repeat. And it's just, what I love to do the most is travel, eat food, enjoy being somewhere where I don't have to answer a phone call right away or email coming up, and just enjoy the little things in life, So that's me right there. And of course, laughter with friends and family and enjoying those moments. But me, I just want to pop on a country, eat some food all day along the beach side. And honestly, that's when I came across you.
Yeah. So I guess quick question for you, because you're a fellow young black female. How did you even get into engineering?
Kudos to the mom. He was like, "You're good at math. You're good at science. Go for it." And it was
that is the classic. It's the classic. Yes. Oh my gosh. I remember me in high school. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm good at math. I'm good at science. My dad's like, you should go into engineering. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's you have no idea what it is, even because I was in a program. Luckily, it was for minority students, and they had us start early on, junior year of high school. Okay, what do you want to study in college? Well, they don't even really tell you what's out there.
No.
You're used to history class, math class. So I'm just I don't know. So of course, that's when my mom was go for engineering. So the next day I go to our counselor. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do engineering. He's like, okay, great. Which type? And I was like, there's different types. Right. You already thought you figured it out, and it's just no. So for me, it was I feel maybe most of us are like this. We just chose whatever. So I was taking Latin at that time, and there's a word in Latin, civis, and which means people, which kind of correlates with civil, because civil engineering is
close enough.
Everything you use as a person is related to civil engineering, a building, a bridge, whatever you're walking on. So and that's how I got into engineering. Honestly, it was it wasn't planned. It wasn't this is what I know. This is what mom mentioned it. Okay. Went to school for it, and it worked out. I feel most of us can say that it just happened to work out, and graduating, got a job, and here I am.
That's the thing. I will say, it's if you want a little bit of a beating, through college, but to build up some resiliency, build up some serious resiliency, that when you start working, you're okay, I mean, this is fun. I feel I wasn't phased when I started working. I was almost I'm kind of bored,
Yeah. I was okay, this was just so much easier than finals week that I had a few months ago, and I mean, again, it's everyone, it wasn't a terrible thing. It's a great thing, did the 4 years, got the degree, but you think about it, and you would say that so many times, you're well, buying a house is easier than those 4 years in engineering.
Yeah.
And it really is. And I'm wow, I think about so many more things I could have done during that time, frame. And maybe if I just got jobs with a certain amount of money, I just would have swooped in more, when things are cheaper. But again, it was just just came across it. You did it, you graduate, you get the job, and you think, okay, this is it. And then it's well, now I get to save for retirement.
Right. You're like, wait, I have to do this for 40 more years?
Oh my God. Thought of it. After like my 3rd year, I was like, okay, I'm ready for retirement. I was already like looking into fire. I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready. And gosh. So it's just kind of got tired of it.
Yeah. Well, so actually, can you explain to the listeners for whoever who doesn't know, what is FIRE?
Oh, okay. So everyone kind of translates it a little bit differently, but the overall original, I guess, would be financial independence, retire early. But some people might even switch it saying relax early because you might.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
It's just knowing that you have the money there. You're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a year off work and I'm just going to go and travel. And then if I want to do something or something that you actually ended up wanting to do, but you never did because you're like, I went to school for this. I got to get this, the high salary. Let me stick with it. So that's what it is. That's what it is.
No, so I actually really like the relax early because I always tell people like you get to retirement, like you get to the point where you're like, okay, cool, I'm retired. And then you get bored. You're like, okay, what do I do now?
Like, again, you're going to go back to the whole, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. And the idea is just to like
do whatever you want.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, do something else, so I like the relax early. That's what, yeah. But the original was like kind of like retire early. But it's like that you have the money there. Now do what you want, explore. You have to figure out after 6 months, figure it out for 6 months. You have the funds, like, you have the freedom. That's
okay. So I love this. And so, kind of want to get into your story a little bit now. So before you even found me, you'd already started thinking about investing in real estate. And I know, I remember when we like hopped on a call, you were talking about like co-ops in New York and all this. So tell me, like, how did you even start thinking about real estate and what was that journey before you found me?
So like, I know in general, like my parents and my grandparents, they've done the whole rent a portion of the house or they bought a second building and like rented that out. I know at least for my mother, like she had a bad experience with that. So yeah, it kind of goes back to like, what you want to do, but then you have people who kind of put things in your ear that hold you back to do it. So, so there was a fear of that. And of course I live like in New York City, so expensive. So the idea even like buying a house or a 2-family was already like out, like it was just far-fetched for me. So that's where the whole, let me get a co-op because that's all I could really afford in New York City that I was comfortable with, where I could still do what I want to do and save some money. So I was looking at co-ops only because some of them do let you sublet for a year. So I was like, okay, I could dip my toe in it. But for years, and that's why I was able to just jump on to with you, years I wanted to invest upstate New York. I was visiting a friend. He was also an engineer. He was living up there and he was saying how much he paid in rent. And I was like, wow, but houses here only cost like $200,000. And he was paying like $1,600 in rent. And I'm like, that covers it and more. So I was like, wow, I think there's something here. So for years, I always looked at it and I looked at the houses. I looked at it and my friend and I, we were thinking about doing it. But it's, of course, that like, how do you do it from afar? Like, how do you do it away? Like, are we okay with this? Well, these are all the things that could go wrong. So it was always like somewhere in the back of my mind, but it was like, you know what? Let me do my call. It's here, New York City. It's a safe bet. And again, it's the safe bet part, So I was so close to buying a co-op. One of them, there was a higher bid. The second one was really, really close, but I didn't feel right about it. And then literally maybe like 2 weeks later, I was scrolling and I saw your post. And I think it's something good when you come across people who are very like-minded to you. So I was so okay with getting a co-op with high interest rates because prices were going down. There were apartments that I couldn't afford that were now affordable to me. And then I saw that you said that in one of your stories. And I was like, oh my gosh, girl, And then it was the fact that you were an engineer and then a woman of color, it was
just aligned. It aligned.
Traveling. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's living the life I want, and who else to, like get advice from and join that, who's doing what you want. So that's when you have like a master class. And I was like, again, out of my comfort zone. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I was like, let me join it. And I was like so nervous. And I joined it. And I think I was like one of the first people who like got on there. And I was like, oh my God, this is nerve-wracking. Okay. Do that. And then some other people got on. And it was nice. And it was good what you were saying and everything, your mindset. So then it came on to the whole, if you sign up for the one-on-one call, I forgot exactly what you said.
Yeah.
But and I was like, I think I'm gonna do it, and I just did it. And it was just it was like nerve-wracking, but it didn't feel like I was stopping myself, which is what I needed. It's like, don't stop yourself.
No, I love that. And it's really just like following your intuition, because it's like deep down, we know, right? Yeah. Like I always say this, and I always hear this from other people. It's like, inside yourself what you need to do, right? And sometimes I feel like we've been conditioned to not listen to ourselves, right? It's like, no, you got to be realistic, or no, you need to do this. And we constantly have this like chatter going on from other people's opinions. And sometimes you just got to like get quiet and listen to yourself.
Yeah, you do. And that was like an issue I had, because I knew what I wanted to do, especially like upstate New York, but it was the fear of like not knowing how to handle that long distance. Yeah. But then it was like, okay, I have my mother saying like, well, tenants are issues and and then like, what our grandmother went through. And I'm like, okay, now you're scaring me, And
well, yeah.
It's so crazy how people can change your mindset. That's why it's like sticking with people who are in that same group and want what you want and who've done it, because then they'll be like, it's not a big deal. You got it.
Well, and the thing is like, for every bad story out there's a billion good ones. And the same thing, and it's like there's always a positive and a negative to everything. It's just surrounding yourself with more people who have had those positive experiences, and then you're going to go into it with those positive like thoughts and experience. And it's obviously like, prepare for things. It's real estate. It's life, right? Things go wrong, but it's not the end of the world.
No, there's a solution. When there's a will, there's a way, And that's what, like, I was so grateful for you, because you were like, I was like, oh my God, put this. And you're like, well, you could just do that. It was just like, take the fear out, just do that. Okay. Yeah.
And I got this.
Completely. And it's like, you just need people who will just like calm your nerves. Like, there was a video my friend sent me on Instagram, and it was like, for all the overthinkers, you need like someone to like over clarify everything. Mm-hmm. So someone who could just like clear your mind. You stop thinking. You're like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, okay, you solved my problems. Like, everything I was like worried about. Okay, like, we're good. We're completely good.
Well, you just realize most problems aren't that big of a deal. Like, unless someone's dying, it's not the end of the world, right?
Like, it's not. And it's just like, that's where you have to work on, like, okay, let me just do this. Like, and especially if it doesn't feel wrong, you're just nervous. It's like, okay, you're off to something good, because we were all nervous going to college. We were all nervous to go to high school. And then every first step, your first job is just, you're off to something good. So that's how I felt. I was like, okay, this is not like, it's okay. It feels good. And my friend's like, oh my God, are you sure? What is this? What is that? And I'm like, it's me getting like a coach, a mentor. Like, I need someone to just push me. That was just it. So like, I know I had that will and I had that mindset, but it was just like, to actually do it, I was like, no, that was not happening on my own. Like, it was not happening.
I love that. And so, okay, so for people who know, because most people think of New York and they're like, things are ridiculously expensive in New York. How are you buying properties in New York, right? So can you explain to people a little bit what a co-op is and where upstate New York is?
I know, right? Two different worlds. So a co-op, I've learned, is that you don't own the apartment in a co-op. You just own shares. It's kind of like a stock. Like, you own shares of the business, but you don't own the whole.
Yeah.
So you just own shares of it. So there's a lot of rules. They'll be like, you have to put 20% down. So that was one thing that I had to go through. And it was like, okay, no pets. If someone lives with you, you need like a written approval from like the board. That's what it is. It's controlled by like a group of people who do live in the building. And they dictate pretty much every move you're allowed to do. And that was like the downfall, because I was like, oh gosh, like I'm gonna spend so much money on this, but I don't own it, you know?
And not even like getting income from it unless you're not there.
Yes.
You
And
know?
if I sublet it, they'll say like you have to live in it for like 2 years. And then after that, based on the approval on the board, like then you could, so it's not like the freedom where a house where it's like, okay, I want someone to move in tomorrow. Put it up on Zillow, get the lease ready. If someone gets in, you like it, go.
Done.
So that's like what the co-op condo is similar to like a house. It's in a building, an apartment, but you do own it. You own everything within that apartment. So for instance, like upstate New York City, the five boroughs, expensive, very expensive. But once you leave out of New York City, you have like Westchester County, and then above that is like upstate New York.
Yep.
So much cheaper, a lot more affordable. Property taxes are, I would say, relatively cheaper too. Could be like about the same, but the price point is like 1/8. So I actually did meet like a coworker who he like invested in Syracuse. So he was the first person I was like, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy for thinking like this could actually be a thing, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, it's so cheap, and I got this and I did that, and I was like, okay. But like he wouldn't go in details that much. So I'm like, I'm still lost about but upstate New York is just a lot more affordable. And that was what I was comfortable with. And that's something that like that's like the first step you have to know. Like, what are you comfortable with? And financially, like me, I didn't want to spend like 50% of my check, less than what my check is.
Yeah, just dipping it's the I always say crawl, walk, run, right? Like you're just like, let's dip the toe in and see how it feels.
You know, and then if it works, it works, you know? So that was like my reasoning for doing upstate New York. It was just New York City was just too much in one for me that I felt comfortable. And there's a lot of like landlord friendly laws in New York City too. You know, if the heat's not a certain way, they could call like 301, then they got inspectors coming and then you're getting fined if XYZ is not resolved. So it was just like, I was like, no, I can't do it. I just did not feel comfortable with that. Again, and like did not feel comfortable. You'll know. And I just didn't feel comfortable with it. And I have a friend who like bought a house and she's just like overwhelmed with the mortgage and like 20% down of like almost $1 million home. I'm like, oh no, I can't.
I know. And I kind of went through the same thing when I was originally looking at properties. It's like I had all of my coworkers around me and my friends, and they weren't buying $1 million houses, but they were still buying like $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 houses, and like had no like most of their paycheck was going towards their property. And I always would hear like, oh yeah, I'm so house poor. And I was like, I don't want to be house poor.
I mean, like I'm trying to get out of that, you know? And it's like, if I have to sacrifice every penny for it, I can't do what I want to do, then why am I doing it? Like, why?
Yeah.
So it was just same thing completely. I was like, I can't do that. And it's like, they need someone there in order to survive. The second they're like, their whole check is going to the home. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I'm just kidding. I couldn't get it completely.
No, I love that. And so, okay, so I literally viscerally remember us being in a call and we were just kind of like getting over the fact that, you know, you were maybe going to have to put in offers sight unseen, right? Like, so tell me a little bit how like that, you know, transition happened. Because when you came to me, you were like, I need to go there and see the property, right?
Exactly. That's what I was going through with the co-ops at first. I was like, I was going to see it. Like, I was like, I have to see it. Like, I can't see every nook and cranny in the photo, you know? And even when I did go to Binghamton, because I did spend like one weekend, let's go check it out. You know, there was this woman saying like, yeah, I have a lot of like sight unseen. And I was like, oh man. I was like, okay, I got to look into that because I can come up here like every weekend. It's like, I think one way is like about a 4-hour drive. So that's when I talked to you about it. And you're like, well, think about it. Again, it's just dumbing it down to make you feel comfortable. And that's just what it is. That's all you need sometimes. You were like, you know, you look at the photos, even when you're there, you just see if you like the floor plan and you just like the idea of it. But you don't know what's wrong with it. You don't know, you know, that's why you get the inspection, because they'll see things you're not going to find out when you're there. And then I was like, okay. was like, damn, you're right. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And then I think I did 2 houses to 3, definitely sight unseen. And I was like, okay, that wasn't bad.
Right?
After the first one, I was like, okay, and it was like, that's really what it is. You just need to see like how the floor plan, because sometimes the photos are a little, you can't really tell 100%. And even the one that I'm like closing on is sight unseen.
Yep.
And it was, even when I did see it in person during the inspection, it was just better.
Yeah, you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna put an offer. And it was just like, it was great. And even my realtor was like, listen, this one looks like it's definitely in better shape than a lot of the other houses here. So she was like, yeah, no, it's good. And if you get a realtor who knows the area very well, they'll put their little 2 cents in to make you feel better. But it wasn't scary at all. It was
completely.
So, and it's just sometimes you just need someone who's done it to tell you like it's not bad. Okay. Because everyone else is like, what? What are you doing? Yep. No, I can't do that. I can't do that. And it worked out. It's like an 8-hour drive. So,
Yeah. Well, and it's just like, especially for you, your market was starting to heat up. So it's like, you don't even have time, right? Like other people are putting offers in as well. So it's like, you have to go in and put an offer in sight unseen.
Really, like after 2 days, they're like, oh, we're not taking any more. I was like, what is going on? I was like, interest rates are high. Like, this is not supposed to be happening right now.
Well, and here's the misconception people have. They're like, so many people are waiting for interest rates to come down. I'm like, you guys don't realize it's going to get hot. Like, it is going to get and I remember when I was purchasing my first home, I got beaten out 10 freaking times. And I was so sad. I was like, literally, I would like the first, I think 3 or 4 properties, I literally was like so sad after. And then I was like, screw it. We're just start rapid fire.
I was like, you know what? I don't even want to see it. I was like, just throw it in there. But it's so true. It's like, and I saw that when I was looking at co-ops in New York City. Like it was right before I started that it was like, that's when interest rates went up. And I was like, literally buildings that I never thought of looking into. I was like, oh, I could do this, And I was like, this is great, lower down payment and then just like refinance it. So it's just like, if it did go down, interest rates, forget it. I couldn't even step into the building. I couldn't even look at it on Zillow. No. So it's completely true. Even people like they're going in over there with that.
Oh my gosh.
So if it did go down, forget it. I wouldn't even bother.
Yeah. Well, okay. So tell me a little bit about your property so that people can hear, like, how much was it? How much are you putting down and coming out of pocket for it? And what strategy are you using?
So, for me, it's going to be, I guess, a house hack. It'll be more permanent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is a 2-family because I was kind of on the fence of like a single family, 2-family. And then for me, it was like the numbers. And if I was like, if it's the right 2-family, I'll do it, because now I kind of like the idea of like, if one is empty, have another one.
Yep.
So go in. So I was like, okay, that's when I kind of like you have to reach a point, I feel like, where you have to be strict. You're like, I'm only going to look at this. So I kind of got strict where
figuring out that buy box.
Yeah. And I just stuck with the 2-family, and it was originally like 185, and then it was going for 177. Then I asked for 165, and they accepted at 160. Yeah. And I was like,
I was like, go lower. Just go lower. You never
know. And it got accepted. And sometimes, like, you would think, because it's been on, and you say it all the time, but like, because it's been on the market for so long, you think something's like really, really wrong with it. And sometimes it's not. In this case, it was like the tenants had been there for so long, the rents were low, that because it was both occupied, you would have to do it as like an investment property. So it just didn't make sense for people to invest in it. And I understood that. So I was like, it's not the property. It was just the returns. That's what it was. And it's a really great, solid home, And it was just, I was like, oh, great. Perfect. And then downstairs was saying they were moving out. I was like, you're my primary now. Like, I could put a lower in down payment. Interest rate definitely much lower.
Yeah.
So I might put like 20% down, but I'm kind of leaning towards maybe putting just 10% down.
Yeah.
Because like downstairs is like going to be unoccupied until I find
Mm-hmm.
one. So right now, oh my God, I don't know my numbers for putting down, but it would be, I'm not too sure because I'm supposed to get help for closing costs.
Okay, you're good. No worries.
I know, but I'm gonna say my number. It might be like about like $20,000 at
Love that.
10% interest rate, which is
And
oh,
well, which is what? Sorry.
which is like cheaper than what I was gonna do at a condo. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
over here because I had to put 20% down, and most of them
Completely.
were over $200,000. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I wasn't gonna make money off of it. And that was one thing you even told me because I was like, "Oh my God, a co-op came up. Should I go for that first?" And you were like, "Well, what's your goal?" And the goal was to make off money off whatever I was gonna buy, and it was like I wasn't going to get that. So it's cheaper than what I would have gotten in New York City with
And because how much are you planning? Like, how much do you expect to cash flow on this?
If I get them at market rate, I could definitely cash flow about 1,200.
That's awesome. As a long-term rental.
As a long,
which is you, and that's what people don't realize, like, because I talk a lot about short-term and medium-term rentals, but like, if the numbers make sense as a long-term rental, go for it. Like, you're making $1,000 cash flow on a long-term rental. Like, that's awesome.
And it's like each one is nice. They're like 3-bedroom, 1 bath. So like in upstate New York, like the market rate is definitely like at least 1,300. Right. So it's like, again, if one of them is not occupied, it covers the mortgage and utilities. So I'm okay. I'm 100% covered. And so I'm like, oh my God.
Well, and so the thing that I really love about your property, right, is that it has the coin operated washer thing. So just tell everyone a little bit about that.
Let me just start. I swear, if we can, we could get the owner on here, okay? Because he is amazing. So I met the owner during the inspection, and great guy. So he at some point owned 12, if not like 18 properties in the area. Yeah. So he's pretty much like developed a system over trial and error over the years. So downstairs, because he actually did used to work at like a laundromat, he put coin operated washer machines, and they're like, the old school looking ones, but solid. They're great. And so that helps offset the cost of water. Because, one thing another friend said to me was, well, it's a good idea because then people just might bring their relatives and just have everybody like, So he has that coin operated, and he even has like the dryers that are electric hooked up to their utilities. So it's like every time they use the dryer, it's hooked up to their electric, and then they're paying off that itself. And he has like a furnace for the downstairs and a separate one for upstairs because it is upstate and it could get a little cold during the winters. The winters are harsh up there. But he has it set up so well. and it's like the walls are beautiful. Again, 3-bedroom, 1 bath, each floor, very spacious. And he even has like a rule like, don't like wash your car. You know what I mean? But you're allowed. They have it is a shared driveway, but they do have room in the back to like park their cars. So it's like it's yours. No issues, no additional cost for that.
I love that.
That's how he has it set up. But great guy. He was just like, yeah, just so you know, this is like that. This is like that. I think you should do this. You should do that. The home is solid. And he's like, there's extra paint there. So if you want it, it's the same color for the walls upstairs. Like, so sweet. So, like, and I did ask him, like, how did you get into this? He's just like, it just happened. But he said, don't underestimate the coins on the washing machine, because he said 5 years later that helped him buy his next.
Exactly. Oh, just so good. So good. And that's what I always say. Like, there are so many ways where you can make extra income. Like, for example, I always tell people right now I'm looking for something that has a garage that I can convert into a podcasting studio because I can rent. Number one, I can use it, but I can also rent that out to other people because podcasts are on the rise right now. People are always looking for like social media studios to do photo shoots or like to record their podcasts. I'm like, rent that out on Peerspace, baby.
Yeah. That's so true because there's a guy I love him on Instagram and he lives in Paris and he actually went to London because you could take a quick train ride across. And he did that because he rented out a studio to like film his course. And it's like, yep. As long as it's attractive and how they want it and they could do how it works, it does. So
amazing. Well, and I also love that, you know, you have this guy's contact now, right? This real estate investor who has 18 properties. It looks like he's already starting to offload these properties. So like, that's a connection you have. And it's so funny because so many people would probably be like, oh, must be nice. She has a contact. Like, no, you got in the game. You started, like, you purchased the property and like, now you have a contact, but you have to like put yourself out there and like ask questions. And that's how you like create that network that's going to take you to the moon in the future, you know?
And he even told me, he's like, yeah, I know a guy who I use to like work on the properties. He's an honest guy. So if you want his contact, I could give it to you. You know, like he's already just like helping me through the process. And sometimes it's just a little bit of luck. And this is what it was. It was a little bit of luck, but I'm like so grateful. So I even told him, I'm like, listen, if you ever need an extra pair of hands, you know, I don't mind helping you, like no cost or anything, because I'll learn from him, you know? If it means just helping him out and he doesn't have like anyone else around, don't mind that. So sweet, very sweet, very sweet. I can't say that.
I love that. Well, Liz, honestly, this has been amazing. So I have a question for you. So for anyone who is on the fence of joining WWA, what would you say to them?
If you know what you want to do, or you're just like hesitant, or you're just like scared, or you're thinking the worst, close your eyes and do it. Like, you have to just like close your eyes and do it. Close your eyes and do it because it's like, for me, it was like, I knew exactly like what I want to do and like kind of like how I want to do, but I really didn't know what to do. And I just did it. And trust me, even my friends were like, this is not like you because like, you know, like we're like, oh, we're not going to pay for a coach. We're just going to go to the gym ourselves. You know, that kind of attitude. And it's like, just do it. Just do it. You will get the push. You will get the accountability. There we go. That's the word of the program. Because it will push you to get where you want to get to, even though you might have all the doubts. Like, I think we all had all the doubts, every single one of us. We're like, oh my God, it's not working out. Okay, maybe later. We're searching. And she'll be like,
I'm like, okay, so how many did you put in? Like, how many properties did you analyze?
That's what you told me. I was like, oh, this house is great. And you're like, well, did you put it? Again, it's like without realizing it, you're holding yourself back. So it's like, just do it. I would say, like, especially if you know you really want it, you just need someone to like, just trust me, just close your eyes and do it.
I love this. Well, Liz, this was so wonderful. I'm so excited. And I know we're on a mission. We're getting you 3 properties this year, girl.
I know, that's the goal. I was like 3. Even my friend, he's like, I'll give you 2 in 2 years. I was like, no. I was like, Olivia won't let me even.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, you told me 3 at the beginning, so I'm just holding you to your goals. Okay.
And I'll be like, I need to get this done. We really have built like a great community with all of us. We're like kind of like cheering each other on, and it's like a little bond. It's like when you see each other during our calls, it's like question. I'm thinking about doing that. And it just builds off each other. We're all like doing it. We're all nervous. And it's just like, again, it's just great to know, like, when you're feeling like you're about to be stuck, she's right there. Like, right there to say, stop it.
I love that. I love that. Well, this has been so freaking wonderful, Liz. I'm so excited for you. I know you're not really on social media all that much, but if anyone did want to reach out to you, maybe learn a little bit more about the upstate New York market, or maybe even if, you know, you start wanting to have investors later down the line.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, like what's a good place for people to reach out to you?
Okay, so my Instagram is weird, the weird name, and I always say that, but it is at Lean, BLEAN 09. So that's my Instagram. You can always find me, or just like send me a message. It's not even, like you said, want to invest? Come on, and join me.
I love it. Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much for listening to Wanderlust Wealth Show. Now, don't forget to follow the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you love this episode, it would literally mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend or a family member, or literally like anyone off of the street. Like right now, go ahead, share it so you don't forget, or post it on social media and make sure to tag me. I love seeing what you're listening in on and what you resonated with, and I'm just so freaking thankful for you. I'm so freaking excited for you. I love you, and don't forget, life really doesn't have to be hard.